How's everybody doing? Oh, I think I was still pulling up the audio from my own stream. There we go. We're gonna have a little oh my god, why can't I think of the word? Stardew background music again. And today we're making a rainbow cardigan. I'm gonna try to use these gloves, but they're pretty big, especially like the index finger. I don't know why there's like so much bigger, but I'm like trying to like squeeze it all the way down. It's not really working. I'm also using my old phone, so the camera quality might not be the best, but it's smaller, so hopefully it doesn't like bend over quite as much. That is the goal. Like, hopefully I don't have another almost accidental face reveal. Also, sorry for the late start. I got distracted watching another stream while I was cleaning, and then I realized, oh my god, I'm supposed to be streaming right now. And I had to like take a shower real quick, and I got everything done. Everything that I wanted to get done today, I got done. So I count that as a win. Well, actually, some of my clothes is still in the dryer, so I might need to like stop to get some of that. Before we start with the actual cardigan, I realized I forgot to buy another cable. I told myself I was gonna buy another cable because this is gonna be pretty long, so it's not gonna fit on normal knitting needles, so I'm gonna need knitting needles with a cable to be able to do the back panel for this. And I do have one, but I'm using it for another project, and I was gonna try to move everything onto trying to move all of the stitches onto another needle. So this is the back panel of the project I'm currently working on, and I put these on this needle because I'm working on the front side, on the front left side, and this is what I'm currently using my cable for, and I need it. So we're gonna move everything real quick. Hopefully this doesn't take too long, and hopefully the audio for the music isn't too loud. I felt like it was really soft when I heard the recording for the last stream that I used the audio for, so I tried to turn it up. I'm not sure if it made a huge difference or not. Hopefully it did, but yeah. Anyways, oh my god, I forgot the little intro. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. How are you guys doing today? Have you guys had a busy day like myself, or have you been chilling on your Saturday? Do you guys work on weekends, or do you have them off? I have weekends off, thankfully. So that is why I tried to do 2 streams today. But, all week I was just like rushing to do other things because I have scheduled anime nights. I don't know why, but I can't finish shows on my own. So if I want to watch a show, I'll usually watch it with a friend or with my sister, and we'll schedule a date throughout the week to be able to watch that. And we usually watch for like 2 hours after work, and I have like a weekly meeting after work as well, and then on Fridays I play Stardew with my friends. But they're not streamers, and I don't want to invade their privacy, and I like just relaxing. I really didn't do much yesterday. Oh no, I dropped so many stitches. Okay, we're not gonna panic. We're just gonna push this a little up, grab that one, grab this one, grab that one, and this one, and pink, and white, and pink. Perfect. Easy peasy. I don't really like this knitting needle. It's a plastic knitting needle that I bought from Dollar Tree, or $1.25 Tree now. And it just feels like really flimsy. So I don't know, like, I'm not a huge fan of it, but right now I just need something to keep these stitches on. And this will work. Okay, we're just gonna keep moving these over, and then after we're done putting these on here, I'm gonna put the gold knitting needle, which is aluminum or aluminium. We're gonna put that on the front panel side that I'm working on so that I can keep using the gold needle for the rest of that part. I feel like I was talking about something. Oh yeah, playing Stardew. Yeah, like yesterday I just watered some crops and kissed Seb, and that was about it. We played for like an hour or two, and I really felt like I did nothing. But it was nice. It was a nice way to finish off my Friday. Very, very chill. But yeah, my streams are mostly, I don't know, I feel like a way of self-care for myself because I don't really give myself a lot of time to do things that I want to do. So by putting a schedule saying that I'm going to play a certain game or I'm going to knit or make a craft, I feel like I'm kind of forcing myself to take a moment for myself, you know, a little moment for self-care, just to relax and get to things that I keep putting off. Like the rainbow cardigan, I had the idea to start making it about 2 years ago. It's honestly not my first rainbow cardigan. Okay, we moved all of the stitches. So we're just gonna put a needle stopper right here, and bam! Now they won't fall off. Okay, next one. We're working on this side, so I'm gonna switch it over here. Wait, no. We want the needle to go this way, so I'm gonna start from this way. Where was I? Self-care? Oh yeah, the rainbow cardigan. I already have one, but that one I did with Tunisian crochet. I might show y'all what it looks like in a second, because it's literally right behind me. I was really cold the other day, so I like grabbed it and I've just left it at my chair. It's just hanging here. Also, this is not a tutorial. I probably should have said that in the beginning. The way I knit, I taught myself how to knit when I was younger, so I don't have the best practices. My tension is really off, and at this point I don't really know how to fix it. Also, I taught myself, so I don't knit normally. I guess I knit more in the continental knitting style. That's what I find easiest to do. I just can't wrap my mind around like throwing stitches or throwing the yarn, because I hold my working yarn in the opposite hand, so I'll knit with my right hand and I'll hold my yarn in my left hand, and usually people hold their working yarn in their working hand, I think. I don't do that. So yeah, this is not a tutorial. If you want to learn how to knit properly, there are multiple resources out there. I'll try to look for some knitting channels. Yeah, like I think I started teaching myself how to knit when I was like 12. I like begged my mom to get me some yarn from a thrift store because they had this like, I want to say it was acrylic yarn. It was like super lightweight. At the time I didn't know about like different weights of yarn. I was just like, this is 7 skeins of yarn for like $2. Please let me have it. So she got it for me, and at first I tried using pencils, like normal pencils, like pencils like this. Well, that's not a normal pencil. Normal number 2 pencil, right? But the lead kept like getting on the yarn, and like it was really noticeable. You could just see the look how big this is. You could just see how the black marks of the lead were like staining the yarn because it was like a really light color. little like pearl tone. So after that didn't work, I asked my mom for knitting needles, and because I moved from hobby to hobby, she was like, no, because you're going to get them and then you're not going to use them in a week. And I was like, okay, that's fair. So I tried using chopsticks, like a set of wooden chopsticks that I got from like Chinese takeout, because I knew that we wouldn't really use them to eat. So I started with that. Now we're just gonna put this over here and let's go. I'm not gonna put a needle stopper on this one just because we have like so much extra space. I'm not really worried about the stitches dropping. I'll put one on there later. But now we have our knit cable. Okay. I'm also going to switch my gloves because I don't think I can really work with these. They're very cute. I love them, but they're harder to work with than the latex gloves I wore last time. Oh. Let's put you right there. We're done? Stay? Okay. But yeah, I used the wooden chopsticks for like months as I was trying to teach myself how to crochet, and I think the only thing I like learned how to do was like a backstitch purl. So I didn't really know how to do like a proper knit stitch or a proper purl stitch. And like one of my mom's friends was really into knitting, and she saw me knitting one time, quote unquote knitting, because I don't know what I was doing. And she was like, oh my goodness, you knit? And I was like, I mean, I'm trying to learn. Like, I taught myself how to do this at like 2 a.m. Like, I don't really know if I'm doing anything right or wrong, because I was like computer illiterate. So I didn't know how to like look up tutorials or anything. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just figure this out. So she got me my first pair of knitting needles after I told her that my mom didn't want to get me any knitting needles. And that was like so sweet of her. Like, I still think about that a lot. It was just so sweet of her to like go and get me those knitting needles when she really didn't need to. Also, I haven't planned out this cardigan. Let's just do like a little sketch of what we want, and I'll try to keep talking while I'm doing that. But yeah, I started like looking into tutorials. She like taught me some of the basics, and the first thing I did was make that's really uneven, but this is not to scale, okay? The first thing I made was a blanket for the dog I had at the time, and I ended up using the super lightweight yarn that I got from the store, from the thrift store that one time, and another like Red Heart Super Savior yarn that I didn't realize was like much thicker until like I finished it, and I was like, why does it look like this? And that was when I learned about different weights and using the right size needles and stuff for your projects. I feel like people should start like off the guide. See, like this yarn tells you that's upside down. Tells you that this is 5.8 US knitting needles, or 5mm, or a 5mm crochet hook, or a size H or 8 crochet hook. And I feel like it's a good starting off point if you haven't knit or crocheted before, just so you can get a feel of what it's supposed to look like. So we're gonna work with 5 colors. The white is going to be for the hems and the border and the collar. So the collar is gonna be white. right? And then we're gonna have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, knitting was my first fiber hobby, and another one of my mom's friends found out I liked knitting, and she gave me these like how to crochet and knit books, which was also really sweet of her. And I learned new stitches and like how to properly fold stuff. And yeah, I'm like so grateful to them. They are great people. Okay. 2, 3. Okay, so this is going to be our front, and this is the back portion, right? This I'm probably going to make until it's like maybe 2 inches wide, and every row I'm going to do 30 rows. And for the entire back panel, this is going to be 110. I'm basing this off of CJ Designs Dalia cardigan. I am going to make it a lot bigger. Her extra L size, I think, was like 96 stitches for the back panel, and I did use that to make a sweater for my friend. She wanted a black and white cardigan, and because the yarn was so much thinner than the one that CJ uses, it was like shorter, and it was like still a oversized sweater, but I prefer oversized sweaters that are like pretty long. So instead of doing, I think hers I did like 120 rows in total. Oh no, like the halfway point was 120. I'm gonna do 150 because we have 5 colors, and this is technically going to be 60. This section right here, it's gonna be the pink part. So yeah, I'm just gonna make it 30 rows longer, so we're gonna have 30 rows per section. And I also wanted it to be a little bit bigger, which is why I'm doing 110 stitches for the back panel. And the sleeve is going to be 120 stitches across. And what is that? That is, that's 120. 120 rows long. Same for the other side. And the total length for just the color panels is going to be 300. I'll figure out how long I want the hems on everything once I like see it. So I don't know exactly how many rows I'm gonna do for that. And what else? I think that's about it. Just to like kind of get an idea of the colors we're using. Where are my pens? I found my pens. Okay. So this area is going to be pink, right? Okay, or that's pink, right? I'm just gonna scribble that in. I couldn't find an orange that I liked, so we're not gonna do orange, but I only have an orange pen, I don't have a yellow one. So yellow is, orange is standing in for the yellow. Then we got our green. And because this is going to be so oversized, the sleeves, the shoulder parts are going to actually not like end exactly at my shoulder. It's going to like droop off. So instead of starting with a pink on the sleeve part, we're going to start with orange. Almost like the inspiration picture I used for the bottom. Okay. This is a very messy design sketch thing. Okay. What else was I talking about? I'm sorry if I like drift from like topic to topic. I'll try to like stay on one, but my brain doesn't work that way. Kind of. And then our purple. I just realized I have highlighters that I could have used for this that would have matched better because I do have a yellow highlighter. So that's kind of what we're going for. Wait. Okay, I have to unclick all of those. And yeah, I really don't remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, making it for my friend NCJ's design. I just prefer longer, bigger sweaters. I just really like over sweaters. And after I made my friend her sweater, at the time she was like really into what's that show called? Wednesday. And I was like, oh my goodness, wouldn't it be like a little funny, a little cute if I make you the black and white sweater and then I make a rainbow cardigan for myself and it's just like Wednesday and Enid. So anyways, yeah, that's where I got the idea for this, because her sweater I also made with the Caron Simply Soft yarn. Speaking of the yarn, this is their strawberry yarn. This is their sunshine yarn. This is the pistachio yarn. And I do have like the softer blue. I have this softer blue, but I felt like these other colors were really vibrant and this was just a little bit too muted compared to the rest of them. So we're using their robin's egg. It's kind of like a blue, almost teal. And the orchid purple and white. Yeah, that was the inspiration for that. And this is my other one. I did use a different brand of yarn and different colors, and I don't know if you can tell, but like all of the buttons have colored yarn on them. I thought that was cute. A little different, a little pop of color right there. The stitch I used was I don't know if you can tell, but they're supposed to be little hearts, like in between. They're a little hard to see. Maybe I'll do a video showing y'all how to do a little heart stitch, because I did want to have a heart stitch, but I wanted it to be subtle. I didn't want it to be like super noticeable. And a lot of the crochet heart stitches, even like regular crochet and like Tunisian crochet, they were just like really big hearts and they were just like really noticeable or 3D, and I wanted something to just be a little bit more subtle, which is why I decided to like use that stitch. I don't know if anybody's done it before. I at least couldn't find one, not when I was like doing a little preliminary search. So yeah, I'm gonna get these out of the way so we can start. We're gonna start from the bottom to the top of the back hem. It's also been a second since I casted anything on, so let me just remember how to do this. I'm gonna do a long tail cast on So basically I'm going to need to have like a long tail, it's in the name, after we make our slip stitch. So this is easier without gloves. So our slip stitch, we want the part that like pulls on it to be the part that our yarn comes from, and then the tail is not going to like affect the size of the loop. So we have our slip knot, and I left this tail. I'm hoping that is enough for our 110 stitches. Okay. And I'm gonna put that right over there. So the way I hold it is the long tail is over here, facing me. The part that's connected to the yarn is over here. So I'm gonna put the long tail on my thumb and the yarn that's coming from the skein on my index finger. I love how I said this isn't a tutorial, but I just want to explain the process. I did it backwards. Okay. We're doing it backwards. Just gonna switch this. Please go in. Is it backwards? No, it's not. Yeah. No. Because then all the excess... I forgot how to do this. To remember? It's been a while since I did this. One, under, over, pull, under, over, pull, under, over, under, pull. Okay, I think I'm doing it right now. Alright. I also don't recommend this particular brand of yarn for people who have never knit before or crocheted before, just because it is like more slippery. The first time I used it, I had already been knitting and crocheting for a while, so I was kind of used to dealing with finicky yarns. But I did read that a lot of people, especially beginners, were struggling with this yarn. So yeah, maybe try with a different acrylic brand or a different acrylic altogether, or maybe like cotton. A lot of people don't really like cotton because it's not soft in the beginning, but the nice thing about cotton is that with use it gets softer, and I feel like I made these too tight. Whatever, we move on. So yeah, cotton gets softer over time versus acrylic, like, sometimes does get a little bit more stiff over the years, because it is basically plastic. But I feel like it's a good and expensive way to start a new hobby, and honestly, I haven't really had problems with my acrylic projects. I've made some blankets for my dogs years ago, maybe like 6-7 years ago, and those are still soft and they really like them, and we do like machine wash them, so it's really up to preference, I guess. Anyways, I feel like if anybody does watch this, they probably already know all of this information, because why do a knit with me if you don't already knit? But we're just chatting. We're just talking about random stuff, you know? Oh yeah, I don't think I like ever finished my thought, but my schedule and this being like a self-care thing, I do feel like this channel has been holding me accountable for things that I say I want to do. Like this project, I've been meaning to do it for a long time now, and I just thought it'd be really neat to work on something live from start to finish. I don't know how far we're gonna get with this because it is pretty big, and it builds up pretty slow, so we shall see. I'm gonna try to finish the hem for the back panel, and then we might call it a day. Yeah, I'm also using this channel just to like work on things that I'm insecure about, or I just feel like I need to work on, and just like other random things that I think of, like the no cussing thing, being more active with my knitting projects, because sometimes I'll just leave them for months without touching them and it takes me a really long time. I don't know how some people can finish like 3 knit projects in like a month. I'm just like, that's insane how fast you are. Like, I wish I had your speed. Like, oh my goodness, you're so cool. Yeah, anyways, that working on that, working on staying on schedule. So far I haven't been doing the best, at least not with that one in particular. I've started stream late quite a few times now, including today. Oh, another thing I really want to work on is like, I'm really insecure about reading out loud. I feel like I'm really fast at reading in my mind, but every time I try to read out loud, it's just like, I can't make the words. I can't. I don't know. My brain and mouth just don't connect. At least not when I'm trying to. So, I might try to like read a chapter of something every time I do one of these knit with me's. Just so we can end on like reading, because I love reading. I just haven't been doing it recently. So I figured, why not add that to the list. I also don't know how many I've done so far. I might need to restart because I don't think this does not look like 110 stitches. Let me... Oh, I didn't realize I pulled it with me. We're gonna use some stitch markers just to keep track of... Where are all my purple ones? Did I already use them? I could have sworn I had purple stitch markers. What color are you? Anyways, or anyway, we're just not gonna use purple for this one. We have 110. We're gonna need, if we count every 10, we're gonna need 11. 2, 3, 6, 8. Oh, actually, I don't want to use these. 8. 10. 11. Okay. Let's see how many we have so far, and I might need to make a longer tail. We're not going to count this first one, so that's 5, 10 right here. And then 5, 10. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait. 5, 10. Okay. I don't know why, but my brain finds it easier to count by 5s than to count like normally. We're just gonna group them. 5, 10. We are at 30. Okay. 5, 10, 40. What? Put one there. Not done. I need a little sip of water. 50. Five. 10. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 60. Oh, I might have been wrong. Okay. 5. 10. We are at 70. Look at all the colors. Okay. So we have 5 right there. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what, 80? 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah. Gonna do one more just so that I can place the stitch marker there. Okay. Hold it too much. I need one. Why am I struggling with this one in particular? What? Okay. Oh no, we might need more. Because we still need 30. I don't think this is enough. Let's see. Little game of yarn chicken already. 1, 2, 3. But yeah. Where was I? What was I talking about before I interrupted myself? Things I want to work on, I think. Yeah. Reading out loud. So, I haven't decided just yet if I want to read chapter 1 of Little Women, because that was like one of my favorite books when I was like 10, 11. Or if I want to read the first chapter of Middlemarch by George Eliot. We shall figure out what I choose at the end of the stream. Yeah. This is more of a kind of trying to progress as a person stream thing. At first I was like really worried that I wouldn't have any viewers, and then I remembered I have really bad social anxiety, so why would I want people to watch me? And so I was like, yeah, that's fine. I don't really want people to watch me, and I'm okay with that. And so I made this channel. And if people watch, that's cool, and if people don't watch, that's also cool. I'm still working on bettering myself, and at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. I'm also like working on speaking more, because I get told very, very often that I'm a very quiet person, and that people find it hard to socialize with me. And I feel like I'm not that hard to talk to, it's just when I'm in bigger groups, I tend to shut down a bit because I don't know like what to say, or if it's like if I'm intruding in any way. That is something that worries me a lot. So I am trying to get better at socializing, and I feel like social anxiety as a whole has been something I've struggled with like most of my life. Like as a younger kid, I was like super scared of ever paying for stuff myself. Like if I ever wanted something, I would ask my sister to pay for me at the cashier. And after a while, she started doing this thing where she'd be like, oh hey, I'm gonna grab another item, I'll be right back. And she would give me the money. She'd be like, just in case, you know? And then she wouldn't even grab anything. She would just like go stand by the corner and watch me struggle as I'm like trying to give the cashier the money and whatnot, and trying not to like break down. But that really, really helped me in the long run. Twisted form of exposure therapy, but it worked. So I guess this is kind of another form of exposure therapy. I'm trying to put my biggest insecurities out there and overcome that feeling of them being my biggest insecurities. There we go. Got another slip stitch. We're gonna put this in here. And the side we're pulling from is the side that the skein is at. We have a much longer tail this time. Much longer. We're probably not going to need all of that, but I like to have at least 6 to 9 inches of extra yarn at the end so I can weave that in. I'm always like so scared of not weaving in my ends like well enough. It's like the part I hate the most, just because I don't like hand sewing, but it's also like the part that like I feel like if I don't do it properly, my entire project's gonna fall apart and it's gonna be 40-60 hours of my life gone for nothing, and that just makes me really sad. So I try to weave my ends in very well. I'll like make a few loops, tie a knot, do a few more loops, tie another knot, split the yarn, do a few more loops, tie more knots until I feel satisfied. So I'm just gonna keep going with this. I'm not gonna count until we have a good amount, until my yarn's almost over, because I feel like we should be good with the amount of yarn we have now. But yeah, this is basically a public diary, public journal of me trying to overcome a lot of my biggest insecurities. And what else? We spoke about knitting. Knitting was my first fiber craft. I started crocheting at an anime convention. Me and my parents would go together every year because at the time I was a minor, so I needed like an adult to be with me, and I would buy like an extra ticket, and one day my mom would go with me, one day my dad would go with me, and one day my sister would go with me. And then like another day, like either one of them would go with me again, or I would go with like another friend that was like an adult. And one of the years there was a crochet workshop, and it was like how to crochet a face mask. This was way before COVID. I say way before, it was a few years before COVID. And I could not pick it up. Like my brain was still like in knitting mode, and I was just like, this is so different. Like my hands just, they can't figure it out. And I was like so upset because my other cousin, her grandma from her like dad's side, she used to make the most beautiful crochet what are they called, coasters. I actually have one. Look at this. She made this, and I'm just like in awe. Like I thought she was the coolest person ever. It's a little dirty. I've had it for many years. But yeah, I think it's like super cool, and because of her, I really wanted to learn how to crochet. So when it didn't work out that first time, I was just like so upset. I was just like, does this mean I'm just not gonna be able to crochet ever? And I didn't make it very far. Like the workshop ended and I had the most atrocious chain. Like it was super wonky. I could not tell where the stitches ended or started. A lot of them were twisted. So that was fun. And I was just like, yeah, I give up. I'm not gonna do this. But one of my aunts asked for like some of my knitting needles, and I like let her borrow them, and then she never gave them back. So I was like, I want to work on something, but I don't want to ask for the knitting needles back. So I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna learn how to crochet. And I had kept the pattern they gave us. It was just like a tiny slip of paper that was just like, oh, chain this much and then do single crochet for like X amount of rows and whatnot. So I told my mom, I was just like, okay, let me watch you do this, and just like, I'll try to do it in front of you and tell me what I'm doing wrong. So I did that. She like taught me how to chain. She taught me how to do like single crochet, and I was like, okay, I got this. And then I did the face mask, and I made a few more, and I made a little swatch, and after that I like started looking up tutorials and I just got really into crocheting. And I've just been crocheting for like years now. I feel like a lot of my stuff, I wouldn't say I'm an advanced crocheter. I definitely wouldn't put myself up with like great creators because there are so many people that are just so amazing at crocheting, and I'm just like in awe of their work all the time. I follow so many crochet accounts on Instagram, and like every time they post, I'm just like, your mind is amazing. Like what I would give to spend a day in your mind, because they're just so creative, and I just am in love with everything they create, you know? I do follow like a lot of tutorials. For the most part, I wouldn't like say I'm super creative. I like repetitive work, so I stick with like blankets and shawls really. And I have made like a few shirts and bucket hats, but it's not like my favorite thing. Yeah, it's nice. But I honestly don't wear a lot of like crocheted items just because they don't feel as secure, and I'm not like a huge fan of yarn against my skin. Like I'm okay wearing a sweater, but that's just touching my arms, and like I feel like a shirt or pants, it'd be touching like the rest of my skin directly, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. So I tend to stick with like blankets and other things, just like top layers. But I'm still like so in love with everything these other girls create, and guys, and just anybody that crochets really. Yeah. I've made mostly blankets, mostly baby blankets. The first one I did was for my littlest baby cousin. I have a lot of cousins, a lot. And I had like kind of been getting into crocheting when my littlest baby cousin was about to be born, so I made him a gingham sky blue, navy blue baby blanket. But at the time, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do like an even amount of rows. So on one side, it starts with like the sky blue with the navy blue, and then on the other side, it's like sky blue and white. It just looked a little funny. So I realized that with gingham, I have to do uneven numbers of rows. And then it looks more symmetrical. It looks nicer. It looks a little more, I guess, professional. And I was like really obsessed with the gingham for a while, so a lot of yarn I bought is just like specifically for gingham blankets, and I haven't made them. I was just like, this color palette would make a really nice gingham blanket, and I just kept buying it. I'll probably end up making more. I just really like checkered patterns and gingham. So yeah. Also really like pastels and floral patterns, but I don't know how to do floral patterns with crochet or knit, so I'll just stick with what I know for now. Maybe one day I'll try to like do a stream where I learn new stitches, and if I fail at them, it's content. Okay, I'm gonna count and see how many we have so far. We're not counting the first one, so that's 5, 10. We said we were starting with this pink one. What? 5, 10. Yeah. Yeah. 20. 5, 10. Also, I have gone a week without biting my nails. Only, wait, how many weeks are in 6 months? Like, if we're assuming they all have 4. It's what? I don't know how to count. 6 times 4 is 24, so like 23 more weeks? Yeah. I don't know why I didn't think of multiplying them. I was just like counting them all in my head. I'm not very good at counting. It's like a joke within like the crochet community, like, hey, before you start crocheting, ask yourself, do I know how to count? And am I ready to make peace with the answer of that being no? And I really like, I don't know what it is, man. Like, I just keep getting confused. The numbers make sense in my head, but then I'm just like, wait, was I right? Or like, did I miscount that? And then I doubt myself like all the time. And for some reason, counting in groups doesn't really like have the same effect. Like, it doesn't make me doubt myself as much. That's 5. Like, I still doubt myself, but not as much as if I didn't have it, you know? Oh, I have too many now. So we're at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Wait. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Oh, we need 2 more. 5, 10. Go in there. And then we're not gonna need the extra stitch marker, I just realized. So then we just need 5 here, 5 here, and 1 extra. That's gonna be like, we're not gonna count the last one or the first one because those are on the, no, I messed up. We do count them. Do we? I'm sorry, I've been working with the reversible crochet, and like with that one, because it's double-sided, like the sides makes the colors, so I haven't been counting them. So let me just make sure I'm doing this right. How to count knit stitches. What? This has a video. It didn't give me like an easy answer, please. I just want to read this. Okay. Okay, we don't count them. We don't count them. Okay, so we're good. We're good. So that's 5, 5, 6. Oh, okay. I was panicking a little bit for a second there. See, this is why I said it's not a tutorial. I'm not good at this. Am I good at anything? Probably not. I've made peace with that though. Okay. We're just gonna... Okay. And for this, I'm gonna do... Stop, let go. Put you over here. This is our working yarn. See, I told you, I hold it in the hand that I'm working with. So 1 knit. Wait. B, yeah. And 1 purl. Okay, yeah. 2 purls. I'm just gonna keep doing that. So we're gonna do 1 knit, 2 purls. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't read the pattern since the first time I did this, which was like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Something like that. I'm just going based off what I vaguely remember. So if this is different from what the pattern says, I already said it was going to be different. So I didn't lie. I'm not using the exact same pattern. Not that I know of. Okay. One knit. 2 purls. And we're also going to use our row counter. I just forgot to put it in just now. Okay. Our second purl. Making good progress. I did make the stitches a little too tight though. Oh well. I like to post the stuff I work on one of my like private social media accounts, just because I'm not like super confident about it, so I don't want to like show my work to all the people that are like professionals at this, and I don't want them to like see all the mistakes I've made. So I'm open to constructive criticism, but I'm so worried about like just getting criticism. What did I do? That's supposed to be what? That's knit. 2 purls and knit, 2 purls. Okay. This one just looks a little weird. I don't know why. Anyways. Yeah, I just posted where like friends, family, and some coworkers can see it. And one of my coworkers really liked the sweater that I made for my friend, the black and white one. And she was like, hey dude, you should open like an Etsy store and sell this. And I was like, no way. I don't think my work is good enough to sell. Not only that, but that sweater took me 6 months to work on, and I was like working on that actively, like pretty much every single day. Like everywhere I went, I was taking that with me and working on it, and I would work on it for hours at a time. Like I'd be watching movies and I'd be working on it. I finished the entirety of Breaking Bad, the movie El Camino, and Better Call Saul while I was working on that. And I still had to like watch or listen to other stuff because it just took me so long. I am like slow at doing this, so that's again on me. But yeah, like I was like, yeah, no, if I wanted to get like, if I wanted to make profit, I'd have to sell this for a really high price, and I just don't think it's fair because I don't think the quality of my work is really worth that. So I like to give it as gifts, partially because then it's just like, oh my god, you made something, and then it's not like, hey, I paid you to like do this correctly, like why is this like messed up or something, or I wanted it to be like this or whatnot. Obviously I did ask her throughout the process. I'd just be like, hey, are you okay with like the width of this, or do you want it to be like a little bit longer, a little bit shorter? How are we feeling about the sleeves? Like, is there any other like changes you want me to make to this before I give it to you? And I like I was communicating with her like pretty much every step of the way, right? But I don't think I could do that regularly with like clients. She's a close friend and we talk on Discord almost every day, so I'd just be like, hey, I'm working on the sweater, and sometimes I would just like stream the progress to her. Ugh, I made these so tight. The gloves are not helping because I can usually also tell if I'm going a little too tight, and then I'll like loosen my grip. But I genuinely can't feel the stitches with this. The second row should be easier though. But yeah, I wouldn't sell this. If I was like able to make my own pattern for something, I might sell the pattern, but I wouldn't sell the like finished work. Maybe at the end of this, if I have like some followers, I'll try to auction off the sweater. Who knows? What else? There were like other things I wanted to talk about. Oh, I wanted to talk about musicals. Okay, so I don't know if any of y'all saw my like last post on Twitter, but I really like musicals. The way I listen to them is I try to go into it blind and figure out and see if I can figure out the plot based off only the soundtrack. So usually I'll like listen to it quite a few times. I tend to memorize the lyrics, and then I'm like, okay, I think I know what's going on, and then I'll watch a slime tutorial and see how off I was. So far I've been pretty off on a lot of them, but I just think it's fun that way. I've liked musicals ever since I was a child. Like, the first time I watched Annie, I think the 1982 version, I want to say it was made in 1982, the one with the little redheaded girl. The first time I watched Annie, I was like so obsessed with it. I remember I was like maybe 5 years old or something. I was little. I was obsessed with Hard Knock Life. Like, I was just like, this is the greatest thing I have ever seen. It's amazing. I have to share it with everyone. Everyone deserves to see this. Like, I need to tell the world about this, you know? And the next day, one of my cousins slept over, and we're like about the same age, and I was just like, oh my god, dude, you have to watch this movie. It's amazing. Like, you're gonna love it. And I was playing the movie for her, and maybe like 20 minutes in, she was just like, hey, this is really boring. Can we watch something else? And I was devastated. I was like, you don't like it? But it's amazing. It's so good. What do you mean you don't like it? And I obviously didn't say that to her. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. It is kind of boring. And then we changed it to something else. And after that, I like stopped telling people about how much I loved musicals, and it was just like something I like enjoyed on my own. And yeah, like I just really enjoy musicals. Like, I know a lot of people don't really like them, or they'll complain about it and be like, it's not realistic. Like, obviously it's not realistic. Like, half of these plots are very unrealistic. I just like songs. I like songs like in musicals because they like move the plot. It's like getting a story and listening to a concert at the same time. And especially with like Broadway actors, oh my god, their musical ability is amazing. Like, I recently watched Hamilton live, and mind you, I had listened to the Hamilton soundtrack maybe 100 times, if not more. I've been listening to it ever since it came out. I like at one point had most of it memorized, and I remember sharing it with my friends. I was just like, please listen to this, it's so good, it's so good, you're gonna enjoy it. Like, listen to this lyric where Angelica is talking about how much she loves her sister, and it's just like so heartbreaking because she loves Hamilton, but she also knows she loves her sister, and it's just like, oh, it's so good, you know? And like, look, say what you will about him, but Lin-Manuel Miranda is just like such a great lyricist. He's so good, and I was just like, please listen to this, it's so good, you're gonna love it. And one of my friends was just like, this is so boring, can we listen to anything else? And she would just be like, dude, you're being so cringe right now, and she like refused to listen to it. And the second it came out on Disney Plus, she was just like all over it. She was just like, oh my god, you're right, this is so good, blah blah, this and that. And like, I was like, dude, I've been trying to tell you for years now, years. But yeah, really love musicals. And despite having listened to Hamilton, the soundtrack, so much, like, hearing it live, even though it wasn't the original cast, it was amazing. Dude, I am a very emotional person, like, normally. And usually when I listen to the soundtrack, I get a little emotional when Philip dies, and at the end when Alexander dies. These are not spoilers, these people have been dead for, centuries now. And I've like teared up at those moments, especially if I'm like singing along, I'll tear up. But or with Burn, oh my god, or when Eliza is like singing about like all of the stuff she does after Hamilton dies. Oh my god, it gets to me every time. But I was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna cry at the theater. I'm not gonna cry. Like, I didn't even take tissues. I was like, I'm gonna be so strong about this, dude. The second act, like the moment the second act started, I was like already tearing up. I was like, I know it's gonna happen. I don't want to see it happen. And yeah, I ended up crying the entire second act. It was like quietly sobbing. I was like trying to wipe away my tears with the sleeves of my cardigan. I was like, oh my god. And my mom, like, afterwards, she was like, dude, I saw you crying the entire time. I was like, I know. You don't have to bring it up again. But it was so good. And I just love musicals. Like, I remember in middle school we had theater, right? And it was like one of the 3 connections, is that what they're called, that we could choose. You could choose to be in band, chorus, oh, it's 4, bands, chorus, orchestra, or theater. Those were like the only 4 you could choose. The rest were kind of like, you could kind of be like, oh hey, I want to be in this, but you would only be in it for like a semester or like a year, and that was about it. And I really wanted to be in theater. I was like, I know I have terrible social anxiety. I get terrible stage fright. Like, I can't do presentations. Every time I do a presentation, like my heart just starts beating so much, and I'm just so scared, and I'm like shivering and shaking the entire time, and I can't speak properly. That's another thing I'm working on by doing this channel. Thankfully there's not an audience in front of me, so it's a lot easier. But when there is an audience in front of me, I feel like I'm just gonna break down. Like, my voice starts trembling, but I also have a very monotonous voice, so it's not as easy to tell. I should probably keep knitting. But I was just like, even if I just do like lighting, even if I'm just like in the background doing makeup or costume designing or anything, I just want to be a part of theater. And my mom was like, no, you can't do it, because you'd have to like stay late at school, or like go in early, or be there after school or whatnot, and we just can't afford like to pick you up every single day, because both of my parents worked. And oh no, I did 2 knits. Just gonna put that back, easy fix. That's 2 purls, and this needs to be a purl. So I didn't join theater. I joined band, so I can kind of play the flute. Yippee! And I ended up doing like almost as much early practice and late practice for that, but my parents were like, oh well, it's fine, because like you can play the flute for like our family and friends, you know, when they come over. And I was just like, I am absolutely not doing that. But they had high hopes for me. I really admire that for them. They expected better of me. But yeah, like, I was a little bummed out that I couldn't join theater. And then in high school, I was just like so focused on joining STEM classes that like I honestly didn't take any arts class. Like, I didn't take art, or I quit band. I didn't even try to get into theater. The only club I joined was like microbiology club. And I really enjoyed that as well. It's not something that I regret. I really loved my experience in microbiology club, but like in hindsight, I'm just like, hey, I took maybe like 12 or 13 science classes. I could have taken an arts class. I feel like if I were to go back to school, that's really the only thing I would change. But yeah, I love musical theater. I'm actually, the reason I'm not streaming tomorrow is because I'm going to see another theater production, and I'm like very excited. I bought the tickets like almost as soon as I found out that it was like touring where I live, and I'm just so excited about it. Like, I was even telling my therapist about it the other day. I was like, dude, I'm gonna go see this theater production and it's gonna be so great. Yeah, I love theater. Let's see, what are some soundtracks? Like, I feel like my favorite soundtracks are pretty basic. I'm trying to like learn more musicals, so if you guys have any recommendations for any musicals you think I should listen to, please do tell me. I think I dropped a stitch right here. We'll figure it out later. Anyways, yeah, if you have any recommendations, please let me know. Some that I've listened to are obviously Be More Chill, Dear Evan Hansen, Heathers, Hamilton, Kinky Shoes, Wicked the Musical, Twisted by I think Star Kid. It's the full production is available on YouTube if you guys want to watch it. Same with Trailblazer and the guy who doesn't like musicals. Oh my god, I had that one stuck in my head for months. It was so good. I keep saying everything's so good, but I've just genuinely enjoyed like all of these musicals. What else? Oh my god, Beetlejuice. I also watched Beetlejuice, and that one I also cried too while watching it. But I was prepared. I took tissues that time. I really wanted to watch Six the Musical because it came to where I live. But by the time I found out that they were touring here, they were already sold out, completely sold out. It was so sad. I was just like, man, that was really one of like top 5 musicals I really want to watch live. What else? I haven't listened to a few Star Kid musicals. I think they recently released Black Friday. I haven't heard that one yet. Is there anything else? Oh, Waitress? That one is based off the movie Waitress. I haven't watched the movie, but I am in love with the musical. And let's see. Is there any other that I can think of, like, at the top of my head? Oh, I dropped it. Get back in there. Okay. So that was a knit. Dude, what are you doing? Okay. Don't embarrass me like that. I say as I embarrass myself further. Okay, that was 2 pearls, 1 knit, 1 pearl. So we need to do another pearl. Go in the back of the stitch and pull through the front. No. Knit 2 pearls, knit 2 pearls, knit 2 pearls. I feel like I may have messed up somewhere. It's very likely I did. I haven't really been paying attention to this. It's also a little hard to tell because everything's just so bright. Okay, I think it's fine. So I got 2 pearls, 1 knit, and we're gonna end on a pearl. Or 2 pearls. Yes. I'll just do a pearl, since we're already here. Musicals. What's another one I've listened to recently? Oh, the Mean Girls musical? My sister loved Mean Girls, like the movie with Lindsay Lohan when it came out. So there was a point in time where I felt like I could recite the entire script of that movie. And I really loved the like musical. I haven't watched the movie just because I heard like how many musical fans are just like upset with it. And I honestly think that's like really valid. They did change like the tone of a lot of them. I feel like when musicals are turned into movies, they try to make it more digestible for like people that aren't fans of musicals. So the people that really do enjoy musicals are more like, hey, we want a professional recording of the original like Broadway cast in playing live, you know, versus like getting actors and they're not all professional singers. So a lot of like musical fans are just like, hey, this person did a great job acting, but like their singing isn't quite up to par to what we were expecting or what we wanted. But me, I tend to enjoy things regardless. so I feel like I should give it a chance. I just haven't done so yet. Partially because I've been busy, and partially because I just didn't want to pay to go to the movie theaters. And none of my friends wanted to go with me because they were like, no, I like the original movie better. And I'm just like, oh, you guys suck. They don't suck. But I was like a little bummed out that nobody wanted to go see it with me. I should also work on that. Like, I don't need to rely on my friends going to watch things with me just to go out. Right? Like, people can do things on their own. Oh my god, speaking of movies, I was on not TikTok. I don't really use TikTok. I was on Instagram earlier, and I saw this reel of these people that were having like a craft session at a movie theater, and they had the lights on so that everybody can work on their projects. And there were people like knitting and crocheting and cross-stitching and like doing embroidery, and it was just so cool. Everybody was just watching. Oh my god, what movie was it? It was a rom-com movie. I don't remember the name of it, but like I saw the actors and I was just like, oh my god, it's that movie, blah blah blah, I really like it. And I forgot like which one it was. I just thought that was like so cool, and I was just like, man, I wonder if they're gonna do it like here. And then I saw that it was in Australia, and I was like, man, I wish I could do it like where I live. That'd be so nice, like a great way to meet to meet other crafters. And I tend to watch movies, like I tend to crochet or work on something while I'm watching movies. I find it really hard to like sit still to watch like a movie, so I usually like snack or do like something with my hands, or fidget, because if I don't, I feel like very restless. So I like to work on stuff while I'm watching things. And I can crochet and knit pretty decently even while watching like subbed anime. But while I was working on my friend's cardigan, I really didn't want to make mistakes, because if I'm making stuff for myself, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I don't care about it too much. Like I used to, but then I saw that one post that was just like, hey, when you make mistakes on like your crochet or your knit project, it's just like a little way for your like soul to leave the project, or else you're like stuck with it. And I know it's like folklore and it's just like, I guess, a superstition, but I was like, that's a nice way of looking at it. Like, things don't have to be perfect, you know. But for her cardigan, I was like, it has to be as perfect as possible. So I watched all of Breaking Bad, because I needed something like in English that I didn't need to look at subtitles for, just to like make it easier on myself. I can speak Spanish fluently or intermediately, but there's a lot of like colloquial terms that I'm just not familiar with them because my parents don't really use them that often. And so sometimes I'll be watching like shows in Spanish and I'm just like, wait, what is this word? And I'll go to my parents and I'm just like, hey, what does this mean? Like, in what context would this be used for? And then I get a little Spanish lesson with them. But I was just like, I can't afford to do that right now. Like, I gotta work on this. We're speed running this project, you know? And yeah, I watched all of Breaking Bad, the movie, and Better Call Saul. I personally was a bigger fan of Better Call Saul than I was of Breaking Bad, just because I know Walter White is supposed to be like a protagonist you hate, but I found him so annoying. I was just like so frustrated. I was just like, man, can't this guy just like die? I was trying to find a better word for it. And then I remembered my channel isn't monetized, so this is fine. Yeah, I was just like so frustrated with him, and I was just like, this guy's so annoying. Like, bro, what are you doing? And everybody hates Skylar, and I was just like, she's the only one that's like acting rationally. Like, if you found out that your husband was cooking fucking meth and like going home to your children, you know, like, I wouldn't feel safe. Like, I wouldn't want him near my children, you know? So I felt like a lot of the decisions she made were like really well thought out, really reasonable. And I didn't like all the blood and gore that was in Breaking Bad. I am not good with it, so I just wasn't a huge fan of like all of that and the like cartel scenes and whatnot. my friends were just like, oh my god, that fight was so sick, like, did you get to this part? And I was like, yeah, I got to that part. I just wasn't a huge fan of it. But I did like partake in those conversations because I was like, oh, I understand like all the memes you guys are sending now. It makes sense now, you know? And Better Call Saul, I thought like really fleshed out Saul really well. I did like seeing his progression from like a not so good person to like slowly losing even more of his like morals and coming to terms with like everything he had done and like finally facing the consequences of like actions he had taken years before. I just thought that was like a great story. I really enjoyed it. I try to keep like a spreadsheet of a lot of the shows and movies I watch, and I think I put like Better Call Saul in like D tier. No, I put Better Call Saul in like B or A tier, and Breaking Bad I think I put in like D tier. And I have a section where I write my opinions, and I just went on a full rant of just like everything that frustrated me about the show. And before I watched the show, I am an active Tumblr user. I don't know if that is going to make you click off my video or make you pay more attention. But I am an active Tumblr user. I'm not sharing my username. And I would just like see all the memes, like Breaking Bad memes, and people would just be like, the way they made the memes, like I assumed that Walter and Jesse would have like a parent-son like dynamic, like Walter would be a parental figure to Jesse, and I thought they'd be like pretty nice to each other, but Walter was so mean to him all the time. Like sometimes he deserved it, but other times I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, he's just a little guy. And it was just so frustrating. And then what he did to his girlfriend, I was just like, you asshole, what are you doing? It was devastating. Devastating, honestly. I hated it, every second of it. I was just so frustrated. So that was like one of the things I ranted about on my little spreadsheet of shows and movies I watch. And yeah, I don't remember what we were talking about before I got on the whole like Breaking Bad spiel, but yeah. Yep. It's Pearl? Yeah, sure, I'll end on another pearl. Honestly, I feel like I'm not supposed to be doing this with like end stitches, but we're already here, so whatever happens, happens, you know? We finished our second row, and I again forgot to use our row counter. We're gonna start at 3. So I'm just gonna... Did I split the yarn? I did. It's really easy to split the yarn with this yarn in particular, which is another reason why like it's not the best for beginners. Oh, see, even I'm struggling. Like, yeah, I nerfed myself with the gloves, but I feel like I shouldn't be struggling this much, you know? Okay. And then, what to do here? We're gonna knit this. Knit, please. Okay. We have 1 stitch. So I'm gonna put this on our number... Stop. On our number 3. So, we can use it. We're on 3. And we're gonna go all the way until we get to 10. Well, 0. Because I didn't have enough space to put the 1 and 0. I don't think I explained that when I was making the row counter. But the reason I put the 0 is because I didn't have the space for 2 numbers. Now you know. So this is going to be knit and then 2 pearls. Easy peasy. Please. I just said this was gonna be easy peasy. Please. There we go. Back to the easy peasy part, I think. For now. But yeah. I just realized, like, while watching the VODs, I say "but yeah" and "anyway" a lot. I knew I said them a lot, but I didn't realize just how much I said them. For "this is fine." I also say that a lot. Let's go back to talking about musicals. I'm thinking of making a video just talking about why the Broadway version of Be More Chill isn't as bad as people say it is. I will get a little into it, but maybe I can do like a more detailed video of my reasoning behind it. I had listened to Be More Chill when I was in high school, and no, not gonna lie, like, this is me being completely genuinely honest. The day I finished high school, like the last day of school, I got home early. Well, early for that day. I think my school ended at like 2 p.m. or something. Anyways, I got home. I did a little pre-shower makeup look, and then I walked my dogs, and then I got home again, and I sang Michael in the Bathroom from Be More Chill for 6 hours straight. Okay, that's partially a lie. I did like 2 other songs in between, but it was like 99% Michael in the Bathroom. I just really love that song. It gets to me all the time. It's my favorite song from the musical. I might be basic for saying that, but I'll admit it. I am basic in that aspect. I love Michael in the Bathroom. Again, top 10 favorite musical songs ever. And I didn't realize how loud I was being. Like, at the time, some of my cousins lived with us, and after that, they learned the lyrics just because I was just like so loud. I was belting this out. I cannot sing, so I was just screaming the lyrics, and that just went on for 6 hours, and I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and I remember that fondly. I don't remember a lot of things, but I remember singing Michael in the Bathroom for 6 hours. It's a good song. But anyways, I'm doing it again. Going back to Be More Chill, I listened to the off-Broadway version, or the original version, first, obviously, and the first time I like listened to the Broadway version, I just was so icked out. I was just like, what is this? Like, I don't know these people. Where is Jeremy? Who replaced the squip, you know? These words probably mean nothing to you if you've never watched the musical or heard it. But yeah, like, the squip is like this computer that is like in a pill form that Jeremy takes. He's the protagonist of the play, and I felt like the original squip made sense, like, in his role, because he was a computer, so he had like a very assertive voice, very like, you will do as I say kind of tone, very, very assertive and stern. And the like other squip I felt like had more of a like chill surfer dude vibe. Like, he was just like, yo, just relax, like, don't worry about it, like, we're gonna like fix you, but like not like this. And I don't know, like, I was so used to the original version that at first I was like, I don't like this, not a huge fan. I agreed with everybody, right? But I'm also the type of person that the more familiar I am with something, the more I like it. And it works like the other way. Like, if I really like something, I'll just learn everything I can about it, right? I love the research aspect about new hobbies. But I was just like, okay, maybe if I listen to this version, like the Broadway version, more, I'll like learn to like it. So that's what I did for an entire month. That was the only thing I listened to while I was working. And at the time, I was working in construction, and a lot of like the stuff I did was just like waiting for stuff to dry so I could finish working on it. I worked in painting, or or like rolling the walls, like rolling the paint on the walls, and it was just like repetitive work. And I was just like, I can't listen to my dad's like religious speeches anymore, because that's what he would play. He would record speeches and play them, and I was like, love that for you, Dad, but I'm going to listen to anything else. So I listened to the Broadway version of Be More Chill for a month, and I genuinely, I don't know if I genuinely learned to like it, or if it's like Stockholm syndrome, but I really appreciate it now. There's like, I understand like the changes they made. I feel like some parts aren't as easy to tell, like what's going on in the play compared to the original version, but I also feel like they fleshed out a lot of characters more through the songs in the Broadway version. And for people who don't really like sexual innuendos and stuff like that, the Broadway version did get rid of a lot, I guess, to make it more family friendly. And I personally did appreciate that a little bit, because my parents are very like strict religious Hispanic parents, and I would like be like, please don't I'm not gonna play this in front of you guys, you know, like if I was like listening to that musical and my parents walked into the room, I would immediately switch it to something else. So I feel like the off-Broadway version made it a little easier to listen to some songs around my parents. I didn't feel the need to rush quite as much to change the station or my playlist, right? But yeah, I'm doing it again. Take a shot every time I say "but yeah." Don't do that. Don't do that. While I was like ranting about that, I thought of another thing I wanted to say, but then I kept ranting because I was just like, let me finish this thought, and then I completely forgot what I was thinking about. Was it shows? Was it another musical? Oh no, I remember now. While I was like working with my dad in painting, I also really got into D&D play podcast. The ones I listened to the most were The Adventure Zone, Dimension 20, and oh my god, there were like 2 more that I just can't think of. I never really got into Critical Role, because I didn't know like where it started, and it just felt so long, and I was like, I don't know these people, it's gonna be super hard for me to like tell their voices apart. And I felt like the Adventure Zone, I was already familiar with the McElroy brothers, so that was like easier to tell them apart. And I really enjoyed the first one. What was it? The Bureau? Oh my god, why can't I think of any of the names? Like, why am I blanking out so much? But yeah, I really enjoyed the first game they played, and I listened to like all of the Adventure Zone up until Graduation. That's the last one I heard, and I'm so sad because I started the C one and I never finished it. I start a lot of things and I don't finish a lot of things. It's just the way of the world. But yeah, after like I started listening to all of these D&D play podcasts, I really got into like learning more about D&D as a whole. One of my friend groups that I got adopted into, it was because one of my friends was just like, hey, I really want to play D&D and I'll be like the DM and whatnot, and he made a whole Discord server for it, and he invited a bunch of people, and me included, right? And we all made our characters, and we never played D&D. And while I was like listening to all these play podcasts, I was just like so inspired, and I was like, I'm gonna make a D&D session, like I'm gonna make a world. And I did start the world. I like made a Roll20 account. I got like a specific notebook and set it up so that I could keep track of like all of their items and all of their like main stats, so that I wouldn't get their like background stories like confused and whatnot. And again, never finished setting that up. I really wanted to have it like more fleshed out, and it just wasn't to the point that I wanted. Whoa. we've been talking for so long that the Stardew playlist ended. We're just gonna replay that and put it on loop. Nice. Start this from the beginning, so I have an hour and 30 minutes. That's crazy. I did not realize. Wait, I've only been streaming for an hour and 10 minutes? Something like that. I don't know why the video ended so much sooner than we've been streaming. Quick water break. I'm confused because that's a knit. This is a pearl. This is a knit. Okay. I thought this was another pearl, and I was like, why did I do 5 pearls in a row? Like, what? But I didn't. It's just the lighting messing me up. Also, these are the same gloves I used last time, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to reuse them again because I've been getting the needles stuck on some of the sides, and like especially on this finger, it's already like gripping. I don't mind like my skin color being shown, but my nails I just don't want to show just because they're pretty damaged. I'm gonna wait until they grow out before I do a gloveless hand stream. Anyways, anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, D&D. Yeah, I did end up joining a D&D group for a little bit, but the hours that they had didn't really work out for my schedule, so it was unfortunate, and I just haven't tried playing again because I don't feel like I have like the time to be consistent with something like that. On weekdays, I already have like pretty much every second accounted for, including streaming, and on weekends that's really the only time I do get to rest. So I'm like, I like to have them free, just in case like any of my friends want to hang out. Sometimes I get like booked up for like 3 or 4 weeks in advance, which is crazy. I'll like tell one friend, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm free this weekend, and then it just so happens that like the following weekend another friend wants to hang out, so I'm like, okay, add that to the calendar, and then next thing I know, people are asking me when I'm free, and I'm like, I'll be free in December. That's it. I feel like I'm not a super social person, so I don't know how this happens. It just does. Speaking of like socializing and Broadway musicals, back on that topic, there's a Broadway rave, and it's going to happen pretty soon, and I'm gonna go. It's not the first time I've gone to a Broadway rave. I'm honestly not a huge fan of like raves or clubs. I get migraines. I had chronic migraines for like 6 years before I realized they were migraines. I was like, oh yeah, everybody has the daily headaches. That's just a part of life. It is not a part of life if you are having headaches every single day and they are not really going away. Please do take painkillers and go see a neurologist. But yeah, I had chronic migraines for many years, and the first time I went to a rave, this was before I was diagnosed with migraines, I had fun. It was like an emo night thing. I really like pop punk music, so I really enjoyed it, but all the like lights, the crowds, the like loud music, everything combined, it just gave me the worst migraine. Like, I could not stand after that. I like passed out as soon as we got home because I was just like in so much pain. I couldn't do anything else. Like, I could barely talk. I basically crawled my way up the stairs to like get to my room. It was just that bad of a migraine. Okay, we did 2 knits, 1 purl, so 2 knits. And yeah, I couldn't do it. Like, now that I am on like preventative medication for migraines, I can enjoy raves a little bit more. But they're still, again, not really my vibe. I'm a homebody. I like to stay home. I like to be in my PJs by 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. I can stay up late when I'm at home. Like, yeah, 2, 3, 4 p.m., 4 a.m. That's easy when I'm at home. But if I'm out by like 12, I'm just like, I miss my bed. I miss my room. Like, everything is loud and scary. I find those like posts that are like, oh, she's in her 20s, she should be at the club. I think they're so funny because I'm always liking them, or I'm always retweeting them, or reposting them or whatever. But I know I'm not gonna be out at the club. Like, it's just not my vibe. I like it in theory, but not in practice. I am very much in love with my bed and crocheting or knitting and watching anime and playing like farming simulators until whatever time I want. My room is safe. But I also really love Broadway musicals and pop punk music, so I'll go to those raves. Anything else, like if a friend invites me, I love hanging out with my friends, so I'm like, okay, this is a small sacrifice to make for you. But overall, like, if it was just a random thing, nobody else is going, I'm just like, I'll just stay home. Like, it's not all that, you know? But yeah. I, again, like, love having preventative medication. It's great. Some people are like, hey, don't take medication for XYZ, like, just try finding natural solutions. And it's just like, I had 6 years of dealing with this. I tried the natural solutions, I tried the supplements, I tried changing my diet, I tried drinking more water, I tried doing more exercise, I did the whole sleeping 8 hours thing, I did everything, and this was not changing. Like, I would guilt myself because I'd be like, oh, I'm not trying hard enough, like, I'll just cut some more food out of my diet, I'm not drinking enough, I need to drink a gallon of water, and it's like none of these things were working for me. My brain just likes to give me migraines. So when I was diagnosed and they put me on preventative medication, like, yeah, sometimes I don't feel so great on the medication, but overall, my quality of life has improved, I would say. And so yeah, like, if you feel like your head is hurting every day, or the pain just isn't going away, or if you feel nauseous from your headaches, that is not normal. That is a migraine. Please seek medical attention. I promise, it is a great thing to do. I know, like, some people aren't quite as fortunate as I am, because one of the first medications I tried really worked for me. And I tried another one, it did not work for me. I went back to the first one. And I've just been on that one for years now. But some people, because I'm in, like, a few groups of, like, I say a few, I'm in one group for people who also have migraines, and I just like see so many posts of like people that are like on their 10th medication and they still haven't found something that works for them, and I just think that's really unfortunate. I do feel like I was very lucky and very fortunate to have found something that worked for me from the get-go. But yeah, if you have migraines or something like that, keep trying. Hopefully you do find a solution soon, and yeah, like, we don't have to live in constant pain. That's not a way to live, like, really. If there's like something you can take to stop that, great. If not, we can keep trying. That's all we can do at some point. You know? Anyways, that reminds me, I should probably take my medication. Let me not show my address. I have alarms to remind me to take my medications, but sometimes they show up at an inconvenient time, even though it's the same time every day. And I'll just ignore it, which I really shouldn't, but that's what I do. Yeah. There it is again! I wrote a list of things I wanted to talk about, and I think I already went through everything. Yeah, I didn't write very many topics. I was like, again, I dropped something. I was thinking of all of the things I wanted to talk about, but I forgot to write it down. So before stream started, I like jotted down a small list of like other things I wanted to talk about, and I already went through it. I'm surprised though that we made it more than an hour before I quote unquote ran out of topics. I'm pretty sure I'll think of something else to talk about soon. Oh, do you guys still use like regular planners, like paper planners? I do, just because like I do use the like calendar app on my phone, and I have like external calendar apps that I downloaded, but even with those I'll forget things if I don't write it down. So I have a calendar at work that I write like, oh hey, today I'm like doing this because my like position rotates, and I have like that calendar to like let me know like, hey, my coworker's gonna be out on this day and blah blah and this and that. Just because I feel like if I add it to like my personal planner, it just gets a little muddled, and I don't like, my department is part of like another department, and I'm just like, I don't really need to know what everybody in the other department is doing. I just want to know what like my department is doing, so I keep a calendar at work to keep track of that, and at home I keep like another calendar just to keep track of like deadlines or family trips and stuff I'm going to, because again, if I don't see it, if I don't write it down, I just forget. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I have very mild ADHD. I found out very, very recently. I am going back to school, and I was telling my therapist about like some of my fears I had, and I was like, man, like something I did a lot in high school was like, if I didn't want to work on a project, or if I like didn't know what to do for the project, instead of like working on it or trying to work on it, I would just like rearrange my entire room, or like color code all of my washi tape, or deep clean the oven and whatnot. And I feel like that's a very normal thing to do, because I've seen a lot of like memes of people doing that. But he was like, hey, that sounds like a very ADHD thing to do, so maybe we should like get you tested. And they did, and he said I have mild inattentive ADHD. So I went a few decades of life without realizing that, so I think I'm good. I don't think a lot of people noticed. At least my family didn't. But now we know, you know, the more you know. I also think therapy is like great. It's another one of those things where I feel very fortunate, because I really like my therapist, and he's the first therapist I've had. And so far it's been going great for me. Like, he helped me with my social anxiety. Like, that's one of the reasons I started going, was my social anxiety, because I had made quite a lot of progress, but when COVID hit, I was really only talking to my parents, and I was talking to like coworkers at work, but that felt safe because we had the like dividers and we had the mask, and I was just like, okay, I have like some level of anonymity here. I don't know if you guys can hear my stomach grumbling. That's so embarrassing. If you didn't, I just exposed myself, so that's great. But yeah, like, they were talking about like removing the mask at some point at work, and I almost had a panic attack like when I found out about that. There was like a period after COVID where like I couldn't bring myself to enter any stores without a mask, because like the thought of people knowing what I looked like in general just freaked me out so much, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. Like, I remember one time I really needed something, but I didn't have a mask in my car, or I had like misplaced it, or I don't remember what happened. But once I noticed that, I was like, oh, I can't go in. Like, I'll just go another day. Like, I can't do this. And it was just like really bad again. So I started going back to therapy. I told him about like the exposure therapy that my sister had like put me through, and then he was like, well, that seems to work, so let's do that again. And yeah, I feel like this is another form of exposure therapy for myself. Yeah. But yeah, instead of doing a cuss count, I just count every time I say, but yeah. There we go. And then, what did we stop at? A pearl? I'm just gonna knit this. No? Oh, that's the tail. Excuse me, I need you to go over the yarn. Thank you, thank you. Get out of the way. Woohoo, I dropped it. Keep grabbing the wrong thing. It's so much easier to feel for this when I'm not wearing gloves. We have done 4 rows. This is what 4 rows looks like. Do I need a size comparison? Do I have anything to make a size comparison? I have this mini bottle of wine. I got it as a thank you gift and I haven't drank it. That's it. That's all we got. A mini bottle of wine. Just like the edge. Let's keep at it. I want to do... Okay, no. I was gonna say I want to do 10 rows today, but that's a little excessive because it's already 8 p.m. for me. So I'll probably work on this for another hour and then call it a night. Or maybe we should do 30 minutes and then see how long the chapter of Middlemarch takes us. Dude, stay right there. Go around. And off we go. I don't know if you guys knit or if you've like seen the post about knitting. That's just like knitting can be a little dark because you stab, strangle it, and throw it off a cliff. So it's stab, strangle, throw off a cliff. And honestly, that is like one of the easiest ways for me to remember how to knit. I like think about that often. What did I do here? Oh, I messed up right here. That was supposed to be a knit stitch. Whoopsies. I'm gonna drop that for a little bit. So we need to hold this one. Pop. That's the third one. And then you. Oh, we purled it instead of knitting it. Purl. Okay. We're so back. There we go. So, stab, strangle, throw off the cliff. Oh wait, let's put that one right there for now. And we were on row 4. Row 4. Right there. Now you can go back. Right over here. There we go. And stab, strangle, throw off the cliff. Stab, stab, strangle, throw off the cliff. Yeah, I think that's like a funny way of thinking about it. I probably never would have thought about it, but like now that somebody else brought it up, I like think about it frequently. What's another like... I really want to get into cross-stitching, but cross-stitching I feel like is very similar to hand sewing, and I'm not good at hand sewing. Same with like embroidery. Oh my god. Have you guys seen those 3D embroideries? I forgot who does them. I'll have to like look it up later. But there's this like person, I think she's Japanese. I want to say she's Japanese. I'm not sure. Ignore that. Let's pretend I didn't say that. But she makes this embroidery that's 3D and it looks like food. Like sometimes she's made like a strawberry cheesecake embroidery, and on the other side, like if you didn't tell me that was embroidery, I would think that was like an actual slice of strawberry cheesecake. And it's just like so crazy how she does it. Like my mind, I can't wrap my mind around it. I'm just like, how did you do that? Like, oh my god. And then there's this other artist that crochets with that knits with glass. So what she does is she'll knit something with yarn, and then she'll make a mold out of it, and then she'll cast the mold. So she'll put it in like a kiln, I think, and that burns away the yarn and it keeps the mold, right? So then she'll pour glass in it, and it just like looks so delicate and so beautiful, and I'm just like, oh, people are amazing, you know? I'm trying to be like them. That's all I ever aspire to be. Oh, if you hear my dogs barking, I didn't realize like how much my mic picked up, because I feel like it barely picks up my voice. And I have the gain turned up on my mic, and I also have the gain turned up to like, I don't remember if I changed it from 12 to like 14 on OBS, and I still feel like it's so quiet. It's probably just my voice. Even like on Discord, my friends always joke that they have me at 200% and they still can't hear me. Anytime I meet somebody new on Discord, they're just like, wait, I can't hear you, and I don't know how to change the volume, and I have to like guide them through it. I'm just like, okay, so you click on my name, and then you do this, and then it's been an ongoing struggle. I do feel like I'm just very soft-spoken in general. Like even at work, my coworkers were like, hey, are you gonna be able to like talk to patients, because your voice is really quiet? And I'm like, well, I just have to speak louder for them, don't I? I feel like I do struggle with like modulating the volume of my voice, but it's like something my parents have like gotten on me. They're like, hey, when you're like in public talking to somebody, you can't just be whispering at them. And I feel like I'm not whispering at them, but I'm like, okay, this is the voice I feel comfortable at, so I need to be uncomfortable to speak to these people, you know? I'm sorry, I like laughed a little bit because I'm purposely making myself uncomfortable. I just meant like the tone of voice I'm using. I just feel like uncomfortable when I do speak louder because it's just not something that comes naturally to me. Yeah. Now that we're a few rows in, I feel like I don't really have to think about like which ones I need to purl and which ones I need to knit, which is a good thing because I can yap a little bit more, but also a bad thing because like we saw earlier, if I don't think about it sometimes, I make mistakes. But thankfully it was like an easy mistake to fix, so not too worried. We're not doing too shabby for the first knit with me. I wonder how many streams this is going to take me to finish. I feel like I'll hit my 1-year mark before I finish this, because my goal is to only work on it while I'm streaming. Again, I feel like watching that whole process live would be really cool. And I work on other stuff like when I'm not streaming, so I wouldn't feel the need to like work on only this. Well, actually, I might want to keep working on this after I finish stream, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm gonna resist the urge. I'll just go back to my reversible sweater. I have so many unfinished projects. Like, I bought a crochet pattern,
for this beautiful dress. Oh my god. It's like a corset top that's crocheted. The entire thing is crocheted, and it's just like so bouncy and so frilly. I love frilly dresses, and it's so cute, and I can't wait to like make it. But I'm also like making crochet tops for a trip me and my cousins are going on, and my sister's going too. And I wanted to make some shirts for us, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like crochet shirts for everybody because I haven't finished the one I've been working on for like over a month now. I was almost done with it, and then I like realized I felt like the back was a little too exposed, so I added some more, like I added an extra section, and then I added too much. It was way too big. So I took some off. Had to like frog that entire back section and start over, and then I realized that I messed up at some point, and I like missed a row, so it's uneven, so I have to like frog it again, or like frog until the point where I messed up and fix it from there. But I've just been really lazy, and I also am not sure like what to do for the straps, because I really wanted to do like frilly straps. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen like those maid outfits where like they have the apron and the aprons have like really frilly sleeves. I wanted to do something like that. I love how maid outfits was the only thing I could think of as an example for that. And if I were to like make that for everybody, I feel like I'd do different designs, because I personally just don't like, I don't feel comfortable showing a lot of skin. At home, I'll wear shorts, but I don't wear shorts outside like ever, unless I'm wearing like leggings or something underneath them, or if I'm wearing like thigh highs. But shorts alone, I don't really wear outside of my house. And because of that, my legs are like super pale. Like my arms are so much darker than my legs. And I know I really need to like wear shorts at some point. I need to tan maybe. But I don't want to. I'm like so scared of the sun. I'm like relatively pale for a Hispanic person, and I sunburn so easily. Like, I remember this one time as a kid, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna be so smart. I'm like going to be in the lake, but I'm going to be in the part where there's shade, and I'm not gonna get a sunburn. I was there for like 20 minutes. I got a terrible sunburn all over my back. Don't know how it happened. And I remember this one summer we went to the beach, and my dad had like brought hats for everybody to wear, and I was just like, I was going through my like teen phase where I was like, I don't want to look, that's so uncool, like I don't want to look lame, I'm not gonna wear the hat. So I didn't wear the hat for 3 days while we were at the beach, and my scalp got burned. Like, I had a sunburn on my scalp. It hurt so much. Like, for a week, I kid you not, I could not comb my hair, because every time I tried to comb my hair, it felt like I was ripping out like tons of hair. It felt like I was just like grabbing it and ripping it out, or like pulling at it. And I was being like so gentle with it, and my scalp just hurt so much that I couldn't like comb my hair. I was just like, this is unbelievable. So now I always wear a hat, like anytime I'm like at a beach, or anytime I'm going to be outside for long. I'm always reapplying sunscreen, and my family like makes fun of me for it, and I'm just like, look, just because you guys have more melanin doesn't mean that like you aren't prone to skin cancer. Like, my grandma had skin cancer, and she is like on the darker side compared to like the rest of our family. And I'm like, look, I know she like worked, like she was a farmer, so she was outside a lot. I'm like, yeah, sure, she's outside more often than we are, but that doesn't mean you should like neglect wearing sunscreen, or feel like you're not gonna get it just because of XYZ. Like, we're all like a little predisposed to it. And I'm just like so scared of the sun. I'm terrified of it. But my friends also tell me that like I overreact when it comes to sun, and I'm just like, look, it is a scary thing. You guys might not get sunburned, but if I spend more than 20-30 minutes in the sun without wearing sunscreen, without an umbrella, I'm going to have a terrible sunburn for the rest of the week, and I'm not going to be able to do anything else but like lay in bed crying about how I got sunburned because my skin is peeling and it feels like my back is on fire or whatever. The sun is very scary. Wear your sunscreen. I say this not as a like vanity thing. I'm not saying it so that you can like prevent wrinkles. I'm saying this because skin cancer can come from anyone, no matter what skin color you are. Be afraid of the sun. I don't even know where that came from. What were we talking about before this? I don't know, man. I don't know. My brain does those things, and I just go through with it, man. Who am I to fight my brain, right? Don't bring it to you. Keep it under the camera. There we go. 2 knits, 1 knit, 2 knit, and a purl. For a second, I thought I had like a huge gash right here. Like, I thought it ripped open, but it didn't. It was just the lighting. I'm giving you a few moments of silence so that your brain can digest everything else we've spoken about. Just a few more. I just realized I never switched back to the tab where I have my YouTube thing. There we go. I know there's nobody in the chat right now, but just in case. I like switched over to the Stardew Valley soundtrack thing to like put it on loop, and I never changed it back. Ooh, what browsers do you guys use? I am a Firefox girly. Like, I used Firefox for a long time, and then it kind of stopped working for some reason. At least for my stuff. But for a long time, you could share like Netflix. You could stream it on Discord, and it wouldn't like black out everything, you know? It wouldn't like block it. And it does that on Google, but now it does it on Firefox as well. So I'm kind of thinking of switching browsers. I did try Opera for a little bit, but I find it a little confusing. And I just haven't given it a proper try. Like, I tried it once, and that was about it. So I really do need to take my time to learn how to use it. But if you guys use like any other browsers, I'm taking recommendations. I feel like I'm taking recommendations for a lot of things. Like, there's The Wire from the craft time, making a real counter thing. Recommendations for musicals. Recommendations for... What were we just talking about? I just asked... Oh, browsers? Yeah. I forgot, but then I remembered. I feel like sometimes knit projects feel like they're never building up, and then you like turn around for a second, and then it's just like, wow, I've made so much progress. Like, I felt like this just was not getting very big, and now that I'm like looking at it, I'm just like, wow, there's so much. There's a good chunk. Oh, maybe you can stop at row 5? Yeah, we're working on row 5 right now. Nice. 5 rows isn't too shabby. That's what? We cast it on 110. And we did 5 rows. So would that be 550 or 660? 660 total stitches so far. You're supposed to be a knit stitch. My bad. I twisted this one. It's fine. I like tried to iron this earlier, and I feel like you can still see like the mark of where it was like folded in the middle. And I've already like scrunched it up, so I'm gonna need to iron it again. Let's take a little water break. That's my knuckles cracking. Probably should have given y'all a warning. I forgot that I told myself I was gonna stretch my hands every 30 minutes. Because it's very important to take a break while knitting or crocheting. If you want to keep doing this hobby for many years, you have to take care of your wrist, right? You have to like do little exercises, little stretches in between, you know? Oh, my shoulder cracked. That feels nice. Okay. Back to knitting. Next time I'll have to like set a timer for myself so I don't forget. Because it is very important to take care of your joints. Gotta keep them healthy. Because a lot of us like tend to neglect it. Neglect it? I can't say it. Neglect. We tend to ignore it because we're young and we're like, I can keep doing this doesn't hurt. But in the long run, it will hurt. And it would really suck if you couldn't keep doing your hobbies because of like carpal tunnel. So take care of your wrist. Just every few minutes, well, every like 30-40 minutes, take a little break, drink a little water, stretch your wrist, stretch your fingers, and you can keep working. I do need to like, I'm saying that, but I also neglect a lot of like my health when it comes to like stretching and exercising. Like when I was painting, I was like pretty strong and I could like carry a lot of stuff while walking. I would have to carry like 5-gallon jugs, 5 gallons of paint, and walk up like 3 flights of stairs because the places we worked at often didn't have elevators. And it's been a few years since I stopped working in that, and I do feel like I'm weaker compared to back then. Like, I carried my book bag the entire time at the convention, and it was probably like 30 pounds, and I was like really tired after that. My arms were so sore, well my back, my shoulders were so sore. We're almost done with this row. I'll check the time in just a second to see how long. that took us and see if we have enough time for another row. I just remembered another story I want to share, but I don't know if I have enough time for it, so let me just double check. 5. I'll take you off over here. Right over there. Okay, so it's been like 20-ish minutes. I don't think we have enough time to do another row, so I'll save the story for next time. I'll write it down for myself. If you heard something fall, it's because I dropped something, but it's fine. Look at all we did. This is going to stretch out more. I forgot that knit stretches out a lot. Whoa! And then once we like start working on the stockinette stitch, it might stretch out a little bit more. This part's supposed to be very stretchy. We did it ribbed, so that's what it looks like. On one side it's like pretty close together, and then on the other side we have the more defined like ribbing. I think this is going to be our right side and this is going to be our wrong side, so when I start working on it, the knits, the V-shaped stockinette is going to be on this side. It'll be easier to explain once we actually get to that part. I'm not great at explaining things. I'm a visual learner. Okay, we'll just put that there for now. And we're gonna read Little Women by Lisa May Alcott. I was like, again, obsessed with this book when I was in middle school. There was a part that really disappointed me. It made me very, very sad. And I had to like take a break to stop reading it, and I like went and hugged my mom for a little bit, and I was like, this happened, and she was just like, you're so overdramatic. But yeah, oh my god, this book is so beautiful. Like, look at it. One of my friends got it for me. Well, she had it and then she gave it to me because she knew I really liked it, and I was just like, it's a beautiful copy. This is the second copy I have of this book. But yeah, let's I feel like I should break the book. I think this is the first time it's ever been opened, actually. I didn't realize that. I thought she had like read it at least once. Oh, it has a little glossary at the end. That's so cute. We're just gonna do a few pages at a time. Bend them down, just so we don't break the spine. I should probably be counting the pages, but I feel like that might take a little too long. Versus me just taking like half the recommended amount of pages. Usually if you're doing this, it's like recommended to do like 10 pages at a time. I'm just grabbing a few because I feel like it's thicker, so I don't want to do too much at a time. We're just gonna keep going until... That was 10 pages exactly. Nice. We're just gonna keep doing this until we get to halfway through the book. That's 55, so let's get to 45. It is a pretty long book. I feel like the text on this, honestly, though, is pretty pretty big. So it's not really as long as it seems. I'm gonna try to read 1 chapter today, and then maybe next time I'll time this better so that we can do 2. If I like stutter while reading, it is again because my brain doesn't like my brain moves faster than my mouth. So sometimes I get a little stuck on words. But now we have a glossary, so we can look them up if we need to. I don't know if I should keep up the soundtrack while I'm reading this. Let's see, I don't know. Have you guys ever read Little Women? Have you guys watched the newest rendition movie of it? I really liked it. The friend that gave me this book, she knew I really liked the series. Because there are more books to this. There's Joe's Boys and I forgot what the other one was. But there's more to this story than just Little Women. But she knew I really liked Little Women, so when it came out, we went and we watched it together, and I almost cried again. There was a period in time where I would joke with my friends that they couldn't take me to movie theaters because I would just cry every time. Like, I watched Toy Story 4 in theaters, and I did cry to that one. Same with oh my god. The Avengers Infinity War. Oh my god, I cried so much at that one. And Endgame as well. I haven't really been keeping up with like the most recent Marvel movies. I like kind of lost interest after a while. So I haven't seen all of the most recent ones. I've seen a few, but not all of them. And what's funny is my favorite character is Loki. Like, I've even cosplayed as Lady Loki. And I was devastated when I watched Infinity War because of that. But I still haven't watched Loki the series, and all of my friends have told me that it's really, really good. I just haven't gotten myself to watch it. This is taking quite some time. I didn't realize I was gonna have to do this, but I hate breaking the spines on books, so I'd rather take the time to do this than to regret it. It's just a few minutes, and it helps your books last longer. If you're like the collector type. I know some people like writing in their books. I personally am not a huge fan of that, but I do love reading books that have writing in them, like seeing what other people have written in the margins. But I feel like I'm breaking a rule, so I can't bring myself to do that. I don't even dog-ear pages. Like, as a kid, before I had like a smartphone, I would read a lot. I always had a book on me. Everywhere I went, I had a book on me. And I didn't always have bookmarks. Like, I was gifted a lot of bookmarks, but sometimes I would lose them, or I would just forget to pack one with me. So instead of dog-earing pages, I would just like remember what page I was on, or I would remember like, oh, okay, this is about how much I read, so I'll just like look around this area until I see something I remember. Or most of the time I would try to like read until like I was about to start a new chapter, but sometimes I'd be like, oh well, what's another chapter? You know, like instead of being like, what's another episode, I'd be like, what's another chapter? And I would just finish books in a day. And now I don't read as much, and I really do want to read more. So this is breaking two birds with one stone. Reading more, and also reading out loud. Reading more, like, isn't really an insecurity, it's just something I miss doing. I miss reading. I read a lot of, like, webcomics now, but it's a different kind of reading, I feel like. I really love reading, physical books. And I just haven't bought a lot of manhwa. Because I know there's, like, a lot of translated manhwas now, and mangas. And I have some mangas, but, I also haven't read those. So, I feel like this is a good way to, get my... I was gonna be like, get our, heads off the screens for a bit. But if you guys are watching this, then I guess you're still watching a screen. It's just a mildly boring screen. You can... I don't know if you guys, are like me. I don't know why I phrased it like that. I was just gonna say, like, me personally, I can only fall asleep to, like, 3 sounds. It's either, like, complete silence, like I can't have any noises around, or else I can't sleep, or hearing people talk. Like, sometimes I'll be with, friends and family, and, like, I'll be like, hey, I'm a little tired, and I'll just pass out on the couch for a while, or something. Or, when my sister and I shared a room, her friends would often come over, and, like, just hearing them talk, I would just, like, pass out. So now I don't really have that, but I use podcasts to go to sleep every now and then. Like those, internet mystery videos of, like, stories you've never heard before, and it's like, I've heard many of these before, but your voice puts me to sleep, so it works out. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to go to sleep is the, Nothing Much Happens, Bedtime Stories for Adults. Because I often feel like if I'm listening to a story, I feel forced to stay awake until I hear the ending, because I want to know what happens next. And not having that, like, it's just, like, leaving me wondering, well, what happened after that? Like, I want to know. And with Nothing Much Happens, it's just nothing's going on, really. It's like a story of, like, somebody going to a grocery store and finding something on sale and, like, taking it home and trying it, and it's wonderful and it's great, and they're so happy they went to the store that day, and that's it. That's the story. And oh my god, Catherine Nicolai's voice is just so relaxing. Like, sometimes I'll just listen to the intro and I'm knocking out. I'm just like, whoa, it's magical. So I love listening to that. So if my voice isn't quite having that effect for you and you're having trouble going to sleep, I definitely recommend that podcast. I just realized this audio had, like, a squishy noise. Has it played that before? I was not paying attention to it earlier. Oh yeah, and the last thing I can go to sleep to is EDM music. I know it's supposed to be, like, a party type music, but every time I listen to it, I just go to sleep. And I found out because my brother-in-law really likes EDM music, and when my sister was dating him, she was, like, trying to get into it, and she would, like, listen to it a lot. And, like, every time she played it, I would just, like, go to sleep. And, like, the second the music changed, I would wake up, and I was like, what was that? Like, what just happened, you know? And same with, like, trips. Like, we've gone, like, on a few vacation trips with, like, my sister, my brother-in-law, and my parents. And he'll play his music, and, like, every time without fail, I just go to sleep. And I don't even do it on purpose. Like, I want to enjoy the music, I just can't. Like, I physically cannot resist the urge to sleep. I've tried white noise. I tried listening to like classical music, but I like classical music and I just like the vibes of it, you know? And I'm like used to listening to it. Same with like operas. Those don't put me to sleep. As a kid, I really liked operas and musicals. But the musical thing we already talked about. Where was I? Oh yeah, I can't fall asleep to classical music or operas or white noise. I've tried it, and it wasn't until like EDM that I was just like, wow, this is a sound I can fall asleep to, besides people talking. We're almost there. Too many. Oh, I bent that page a little bit. I'm so sorry. Honestly, I feel like I might listen to the stream to fall asleep too. Maybe. I try to like do the timestamps for the VODs after my stream. I was really tired yesterday, especially after playing Stardew. So I ended up going to sleep after like an hour. I'll just here. I don't think this is exactly the halfway point, but it feels good enough. Now we can read our book without worrying about cracking the spine. What a beautiful book. I love books. Okay, so let's start. Puffin and Bloom is a charming assortment of classic novels with coming-of-age themes. The cover artist is Anna Bond of Rifle Paper Co. She's best known for her signature floral patterns. Oh, they're very nice. And just as flower blossoms, a child comes into her own. This selection of literature will help inspire and engage during the later years of childhood, and is a collection both young and old will cherish forever. Anna Bond of Rifle Paper Co. is a worldwide stationery and gift brand. Is an artist known for whimsical designs, which often include hand-painted illustrations and lettering. She works with her husband in Winter Park, Florida. Oh, so we learned a little about the artist that did the cover art. That's really neat.
I'll go ahead and turn off the Stardew background.
And let's see. The preface. Go then, my little book, and show to all that entertain and bid thee welcome shall. What thou dost keep close shut up in thy breast. What thou dost keep close shut up in thy breast, and wish what thou dost show them choose to be blessed. To them be good, may make them choose to be pilgrims better by far than thee or me. Tell them of mercy, she is one, who early hath her pilgrimage begun. Yea, let young damsels learn of her to prize the world which is to come, and so be wise, for little tripping maids may follow God along the ways which saintly feet have trod. Adapted by John Bunyan. Okay, how many chapters do we have? We have 47 chapters. That's a lot. Chapter 1. Playing Pilgrims. Christmas won't be Christmas without any presents, grumbled Joe, lying on the rug. It's so dreadful to be poor, sighed Meg, looking down at her old dress. I don't think it's fair for some girls to have lots of pretty things and other girls nothing at all, added little Annie with an injured sniff. We got father and mother and each other anyhow, said Beth contentedly from her corner. The four young faces on which the firelight shone shined brightly at the cheerful words, but darkened again as Joe sadly said, We haven't got father, and shall not have him for a long time. She didn't say, perhaps never, but each silently added it, thinking of their father far away, where the fighting was. Nobody spoke for a minute. Then Meg said in an altered tone, You know, the reason Mother proposed not having any presents this winter was because it's going to be a hard winter for everyone, and she thinks we ought to not spend money for pleasure when men are suffering so in the army. We can't do much, but we can make our little sacrifices, and ought to do it gladly. But I'm afraid I don't. And Meg shook her head, and she thought regretfully of all the pretty things she wanted. I don't think the little we should spend would do any good. We each got $1, and the army wouldn't be much helped by our giving that. I agree not to expect anything from Mother or you, but I do want to buy Undine and Sintram for myself. I've wanted it for so long, said Joe, who was a bookworm. I plan to spend mine on new music, said Beth, with a little sigh, which no one heard but the hearth brush and kettle holder. I shall get a nice box of Faber's drawing pencils. I really need them, said Amy decidedly. Mother didn't say anything about our money, and she won't wish us to give up everything. Let's each buy what we want and have a little fun. I'm sure we grub hard enough to earn it, cried Joe, examining the heels of her shoes in a gentlemanly manner. I know I do. Teaching those dreadful children nearly all day when I am longing to enjoy myself at home, began Meg in the complaining tone again. You don't have such a hard time as I do, said Joe. How would you like to be shut up for hours with a nervous, fussy old lady who keeps trotting, is never satisfied, and worries you till you're ready to fly out the window or box her ears? It's naughty to fret, but I do think washing dishes and keeping things tidy is the worst work in the world. It makes me cross, and my hands get so stiff. I can't practice good a bit. And Beth looked at her rough hands with a sigh that anyone could hear this time. I don't believe any of you suffer as I do, cried Amy, for you don't have to go to school with impertinent girls who plague you if you don't know your lessons, and laugh at your dresses, and label your father if he isn't rich, and insult you when your nose isn't nice. If you mean libel, I'd say so, and not about labels, as if Pa was a pickle bottle. Oh, I was just like, wait, why'd she say that? And it's because she was just like, oh, they label your father, but it's libel, advised Joe, laughing. I know what I mean, and you needn't be satirical about it. It's proper to use good words and improve your vocabulary, returned Amy with dignity. Don't peck at one another, children. Don't you wish we had the money Papa lost when we were little, Joe? Dear me, how happy and good we'd be if we had no worries, said Meg, who could remember better times. You said the other day you thought we were a deal happier than the King children, for they were fighting and fretting all the time in spite of their money. So did I, Beth, but I think we are, for though we do have work, we make fun of ourselves, and are a pretty jolly set, as Joe would say. Joe does use such slang words, observed Amy, with a reproving look, as the long figure stretched on the rug. Joe immediately sat up. Put her hands in her apron pockets and began to whistle. Don't, Joe, it's so boyish. That's why I do it. I detest rude, unladylike girls. I hate unaffected, niminy-priminy chits. Birds in their little nest agree, sang Beth, the peacemaker, with such a funny face that both sharp voices softened to laugh, and the pecking ended for that time. Really, girls, you're both to be blamed, said Meg, beginning to lecture her in her elderly sister fashion. You are old enough to leave off boyish tricks and behave better, Josephine. It didn't matter so much when you were a little girl, but now you are so tall and turn up your hair, you should remember that you are a young lady. I ain't, And if turning up my hair makes me one, I'll wear it in 2 tails till I'm 20, cried Jo, pulling off her net and shaking down her chestnut mane. I hate to think I've got to grow up and be Miss March and wear long gowns and look as prim as China Aster. Aster? It's bad enough to be a girl, anyway. I like boys' games and work and manners. I can't get over my disappointment in not being a boy, and it's worse than ever now, for I'm dying to go and fight with Papa, and I can only stay at home and knit like a poky old woman. And Jo shook her blue army sock till the needles rattled their castanets, and her ball bounded across the room. Poor Jo, it's too bad, and it can't be helped. So you must try to be contented with making your name boyish and playing brother to us girls, said Beth, stroking the head on at her knee with the hand that all the dishwashing and dusting in the world could not make ungentle in its touch. As for you, Amy, continued Meg, you are altogether too particular and prim. Your airs are funny now, but you'll grow up an affected little goose if you don't take care. I like your nice manners and refined ways of speaking when you don't try to be elegant, but your absurd words are as bad as Jo's slang. If Jo is a tomboy and Amy is a goose, what am I, please? Asked Beth, ready to share the lecture. You're a dear, and nothing else, answered Meg warmly, and no one contradicted her, for the mouse was the pet of the family. As young readers like to know how people look, we will take this moment to give them a little sketch of the 4 sisters who sat knitting in the twilight while the December snow fell quietly without, and the fire crackled cheerfully within. It was a comfortable old room, though the carpet was faded and the furniture was plain. For a good picture or 2 hung on the walls. Books filled with recesses, chrysanthemums, and Christmas roses bloomed in the windows. A pleasant atmosphere of home peace pervaded it. Margaret, the eldest of the 4, was 16, and very pretty, being plump and fair, with large eyes, plenty of soft brown hair, a sweet mouth, and white hands, of which she was rather vain. 15-year-old Jo was very tall, thin, and brown, and reminded one of a colt, for she never seemed to know what to do with her long limbs, which were very much in her way. She had a decided mouth, a comical nose, and sharp gray eyes, which appeared to see everything, and were by turns fierce, funny, and thoughtful. Her long, thick hair was her one beauty, but it was unusually bundled in a net to be out of her way. Round shoulders had Jo, big hands and feet, and a flyaway look to her clothes, and the uncomfortable appearance of a girl who was rapidly shooting up into a woman and didn't like it. Elizabeth, or Beth, as everyone called her, was a rosy, smooth-haired, bright-eyed girl of 13, with a shy manner, a timid voice, and a peaceful expression, which was seldom disturbed. Her family called her Little Tranquillity, and the name suited her excellently, for she seemed to live in a happy world of her own, only venturing out to meet the few whom she trusted and loved. Amy, though the youngest, was a most important person, in her own opinion at least, a regular snow maiden with blue eyes and yellow hair curling up on her shoulders, pale and slender, and always carrying herself like a young lady mindful of her manners. What the characters of the 4 sisters were, we will leave to be found out. The clock struck 6, and having swept up the hearth, Beth put up a pair of slippers down to warm. Somehow the sight of the old shoes had a good effect upon the girls, for her mother was coming, and everyone brightened up to welcome her. Meg stopped lecturing and lit the lamp. Amy got out the easy chair without being asked, and Jo forgot how tired she was as she sat up to hold the slippers near the blaze. They're quite warm now. Marmee must need a new pair. I thought I'd get her some with my dollars, said Beth. No, I shall, cried Amy. I'm the oldest, began Meg, but Jo cut in with a decided, I'm the man of the family now that Papa is away, and I shall provide the slippers, for he told me to take special care of Mother while he was gone. I'll tell you what we'll do, said Beth. Let's each get her something for Christmas, and not get anything for ourselves. That's like you, dear. What will we get? Exclaimed Jo. Everyone thought soberly for a minute. Then Meg announced, as if the idea was suggested by the sight of her own pretty hands, I shall give her a nice pair of gloves. Army shoes, best to be had, cried Jo. Some handkerchiefs, all hemmed, said Beth. I'll get a little bottle of cologne. She likes it, and it won't cost much, so I'll have some left to buy something for me," added Amy. "How will we give the things?" asked Meg. I'm gonna need a little water break. "Put him on the table and bring her in, and see her open the bundles." "Don't you remember how we used to do on our birthdays?" answered Joe. "I used to be so frightened when it was my turn to sit in the big chair with the crown on, and see you all come marching round to give the presents with a kiss. I liked the things and the kisses, but it was dreadful to have you sit looking at me while I opened the bundles," said Beth, who was toasting her face in the bread for tea at the same time. "Let Marmee think we're getting things for ourselves, and then surprise her. We must go shopping tomorrow afternoon, Meg. There's lots to do about the play for Christmas night," said Jo, marching up and down with her hands behind her back and her nose in the air. "I don't mean to act any more after this time. I'm getting too old for such things," observed Meg, who was as much a child as ever about dressing up frolics. "You won't stop, I know. As long as you can trail round in a pretty white gown with your hair down and wear gold paper jewelry, you are the best actress we've got, and there'll be an end of everything if you quit the boards," said Jo. "We ought to rehearse tonight. Come here, Amy, and do the fainting scene, for you are as stiff as a poker in that." "I can't help it. I never saw anyone faint, and I don't choose to make myself all black and blue tumbling flat as you do. If I can go down easily, I'll drop. If I can't, I shall fall into a chair and be graceful. I don't care if Hugo does come at me with a pistol," returned Amy, who was not gifted with dramatic power, but was chosen because she was small enough to be borne out shrieking by the hero of the piece. "Do it this way. Clasp your hands so, and stagger across the room, crying frantically, 'Rodrigo, save me, save me!'" And away went Jo, with a melodramatic scream which was truly thrilling. Amy followed, but she poked her hands out stiffly before her and jerked alongside as if she went by machinery, and her "ow" was more suggestive of pins being run into her than of fear and English. Jo gave a despairing groan, and Meg laughed outright, while Beth let her bread burn as she watched the fun with interest. "It's no use. Do the best you can when the time comes, and if the audience shout, don't blame them. Come on, Meg." Then things went smoothly, for Don Pedro defied the world in a speech of 2 pages without a single break. Haggard, the witch, chanted an awful incantation over her kettleful of simmering toads with weird effect. Rodrigo rent his chains asunder manfully, and Hugo died in agonies of remorse and arsenic with a wild "ha-ha." "It's the best we've had yet," said Meg, with the dead villain as the dead villain sat up and rubbed his elbows. "I don't see how you can write and act such splendid things, Jo. You're a regular Shakespeare," exclaimed Beth, who firmly believed that her sisters were gifted with wonderful genius in all things. "Not quite," replied Jo modestly. "I do think the witch's curse, an operatic tragedy, is a rather nice thing, but I'd like to try Macbeth. If we only had a trapdoor for Banquo. I always wanted to do the killing part." "Is that a dagger I see before me?" muttered Jo, rolling her eyes and clutching at the air, as if she had seen a famous tragedian do. "It's the toasting fork, when Mom's shoe on it instead of bread." Beth stage struck. "Wait, what?" "No, it's the toasting fork with Ma's shoe on it instead of the bread. Beth is stage struck," cried Meg, and the rehearsal ended in a general burst of laughter. "Glad to find you so merry, my girls," said a cheery voice at the door, and actors and audience turned to welcome a stout motherly lady with a "can I help you" look about her which was truly delightful. She wasn't a particularly handsome person, but mothers are always lovely to their children, and the girls thought the gray cloak and unfashionable bonnet covered the most splendid woman in the world. "Well, dearies, how have you got on today?" "There was so much to do getting the boxes ready to go tomorrow that I didn't come home to dinner. Has anyone called, Beth? How is your cold, Meg? Jo, you look tired to death. Come and kiss me, baby." While making these maternal inquiries, Miss March got her wet things off, her slippers on, and sitting down in the easy chair, drew Amy to her lap, preparing to enjoy the happiest hour of her busy day. The girls flew about, trying to make things comfortable, each in her own way. Meg arranged the tea table, Jo brought wood, and set chairs, dropping, overturning, and clattering everything she touched. Bet trotted to and fro between parlor and kitchen, quiet and busy, while Amy gave directions to everyone as she sat on her hands folded. Oh, she's being the little supervisor. As they gathered about the table, Miss March said, with a particularly happy face, "I've got a treat for you after supper." A quick smile went round like a streak of sunshine. Beth clapped her hands, regardless of the hot biscuit she held, and Jo tossed up her napkin, crying, "A letter! A letter! A letter! 3 cheers for father!" "Yes, a nice long letter. He is well, and thinks he shall get through the cold season, but better than we fear. He sent all sorts of loving wishes for Christmas, and an especial message to you, girl. It really says especial," said Miss March, patting her pocket as if she had got a treasure there. "Hurry and get done. Don't stop to quirk your little finger and prick over your plate, Amy," cried Jo, choking in her tea and dropping her bread, butter side down, on the carpet in her haste to get at the treat. Beth ate no more, but crept away to sit in her shadowy corner and brood over the delight to come, till the others were ready. "I think it is so splendid in father to go as a chaplain when he is too old to be drafted and not strong enough to be a soldier," said Meg warmly. "Don't I wish I could go as a drummer, a Vivian, what's its name, or a nurse, so I could be near him and help him," exclaimed Jo with a groan. "It must be very disagreeable to sleep in a tent and eat all sorts of bad-tasting things and drink out of a tin mug," sighed Amy. "When will he come home, Marmee?" asked Beth, with a little quiver in her voice. "Not for many months, dear, unless he is sick. He will stay and do his work faithfully as long as he can, and we won't ask him back sooner than he can be spared. Now come, and hear the letter." They all drew to the fire, Mother in a big chair with Beth at her feet, Meg and Amy perched on either arm of the chair, and Jo leaning on the back, where no one would see a sign of emotion if the letter should happen to be touching. Very few letters were written in those very hard times that were not touching, especially those which father sent home. And this one little was said of the hardships endured, the dangers faced, or the homesickness conquered. It was a cheerful, hopeful letter, full of lively descriptions of camp life, marches, and military news, and only at the end did the writer's heart overflow with fatherly love and longing for the little girls at home. "Give them all my dear love and a kiss. Tell them I think of them by day, pray for them by night, and find my best comfort in their affection at all times. A year seems very long to wait before I see them, but remind them that while we wait, we will all work so that these hard days need not be wasted. I know they will remember all I said to them, that they will be loving children to you, will do their duty faithfully, fight their bosom enemies bravely, and conquer themselves so beautifully that when I come back to them I shall be fonder and prouder than ever of my little women." Everybody sniffed when it came to that part. Jo wasn't ashamed of the great tear that dropped off at the end of her nose, and Amy never minded the rumpling of her curls as she hid her face in her mother's shoulder and sobbed out, "I am a selfish pig, but I'll truly try to be better so he mayn't be disappointed in me by and by." "We all will," cried Meg. "I think too much of my looks and hate to work, but won't any more if I can help it. I'll try and be what he loves to call me, a little woman, and not be rough and wild, but to do my duty here instead of wanting to be somewhere else," said Jo, thinking that her temper at home was a much harder task than facing a rebel or two down south. Beth said nothing, but wiped away her tears with the blue army sock, and began to knit with all her might, losing no time in doing the duty that lay nearest to her, while she resolved in her quiet little soul to be all that father hoped for her to find her when the year brought round the happy coming home. Mrs. March broke the silence that followed Jo's words, and said in her cheery voice, "Do you remember how you used to play Pilgrim's Progress when you were little things? Nothing delighted you more than to have me tie my piece bags on your backs for burdens, give you hats and sticks and rolls of paper, and let you travel through the house from the cellar, which was the city of destruction, up to the housetop, where you all had the lovely things you had to you could collect to make a celestial city. What fun it was, especially going by the lions, fighting Apollyon, and passing through the valley where the hobgoblins were, said Joe. I like the place where the bundles fell off and tumbled downstairs, said Meg. My favorite part was when we came out of the flat roof where our flowers and arbors and pretty things were, and all stood and sung for joy up there in the sunshine, said Beth, smiling, as if the pleasant moment had come back to her. I don't remember much about it, except that I was afraid of the cellar and the dark entry, and always liked the cake and milk we had up at the top. If I wasn't too old for such things, I would like to play it over again, said Amy, who began to talk of renouncing childish things at the mature age of 12. We are never too old for this, my dear, because it is a play we were playing all the time in one way or another. Our burdens are here, our road is before us, and the longing for goodness and happiness is the guide that leads us through many troubles and mistakes to the peace which is a true celestial city. Now, my little pilgrims, suppose you begin again, not in play, but in earnest, and see how far you can get before father comes home. Really, mother, where are our bundles? Asked Amy, who was a very literal young lady. Each of you told what your burden was just now, except Beth. I rather think she hasn't got any, said Mother. Yes, I have. Mine is dishes and dusters and envying girls with nice pianos and being afraid of people. Beth's bundle was such a funny one that everyone wanted to laugh, but no one did, for it would have hurt her feelings very much. Let's do it, said Meg thoughtfully. It is only another name for trying to be good, and the story may help us. For though we do want to be good, it's hard work, and we forget and don't do our best. We were in the Slough of Despond tonight, and Mother came and helped us. Hold on, I'm gonna have to restart this. We were in the Slough of Despond tonight, and Mother came and pulled us out as help did in the book. We ought to have our roll of directions, like Christian. What shall we do about that? Asked Jo, delighted with the fancy which lent a little romance to the very dull task of her duty. Look under your pillows, Christmas morning, and you will find your guidebook, replied Mrs. March. They talked over the new plan while old Hannah cleared the table. Then out came the 4 little work baskets, and the needles flew as the girls made sheets for Aunt March. It was uninteresting sewing, but tonight no one grumbled. They adopted Jo's plans of dividing the long seams into 4 parts, calling the quarters Europe, Asia, Africa, and America, and in that way got on very capitally, especially when they talked of the different countries as they stitched their way through them. At 9 they stopped working and sung as usual before going to bed. No one but Beth could get much music out of the old piano, but she had a way of softly touching the yellow keys and making a pleasant accompaniment to simple songs they sung. Meg had a voice like a flute, and she and her mother led the little choir. Amy chirped like a cricket, and Jo wandered through the airs at her own sweet will, always coming out at the wrong place with a crook or a quaver that spoilt the most pensive tune. They had always done this from the time they could lisp. Crinkle, crinkle, little tar. And it had become a household custom. For the mother was a born singer. The first sound in the morning was her voice as she went about the house singing like a lark, and the last sound at night was the same cheery sound, for the girls never grew too old for that familiar lullaby. And that is chapter 1 of Little Women. I hope you guys enjoyed that, or fell asleep to that. I don't know. But yeah, I really like this book. I'll try to do another knit stream so that we can read chapter 2. That's gonna be the end of the stream, so I hope you guys have a good morning, good night, good evening, or good afternoon. Be safe, wear your sunscreen, wear your seatbelts, and take your meds. That is all I have for today. Bye!